excited to be here. My job is to ignite your imagination to find your unstoppableness. So are you in? All right. So I'm going to share with you, so you're all here because you're a leader. You may be an individual contributor. You may be an individual entrepreneur who's out trying to move something forward in the world. You may be a CEO of a very large organization in town. So every single one of us is a leader in some capacity. So I'm going to share with you a couple stories about how to be unstoppable from a leadership perspective and utilizing that word ignite and imagination and innovation and how you can take a look at that from a lens and a frame today. So I share just how to be social with me and with our organization. And then Judy, what's the hashtag for today? MN Ignite 2016. So I haven't seen a lot out there. So there's a few of you in the room that I know are social, so be doing that. Also, I just wanted to share if you text Unstoppable to 44222, we would keep you up to date as to what stuff is happening. Oh, sorry, Amy, you want me to go back? Okay. So when you heard the word unstoppable, what are some of the things, you can just talk loud, what are some of the things that what comes to mind for you when you hear the word unstoppable? Resilient. Determination. Getting back up. Keep going. Ooh, what was the first word? Never stop. Force moving forward. Absolutely. So by definition, it does mean not able to be stopped. And the word unstoppable, I'm going to share with you a little bit about why we picked that word. So you had a chance this morning to hear Hot Lou. Lou is on a board of Simon Says Give, which is a nonprofit here in town that my daughter founded. And we were in a strategic planning session probably 2 years ago now, if not a little bit longer. And on our board, we were really talking about who are we, what's our niche, what's unique to us, what are our core values, and the word unstoppable kept coming up. It kept coming up in who we were as individuals, the people that were joining us. It was an unstoppable force. It wasn't being stopped. Certainly there were obstacles in our way, but how did we work around it to continue to get back up? So the word just kept resonating and coming up over and over again. So there was something about that. So we picked that word unstoppable and held it to the side. And really, as we worked on our values as an organization, it was one of those litmus tests that we looked at on, hey, does that help us be unstoppable? The people that partner with us, do they bring that unstoppable energy? And in that unstoppableness, it is figuring out if you get stopped, how to move forward and how to break through roadblocks. So that's originally where the word started to come up in our world. And then the other way it came up is we were looking at in strategic planning, sometimes in just coming into the new part of the year and off of last year in December, there's a lot of businesses that are doing strategic planning for this year, and some doing it still in January, trying to catch up and make sure there's good plans in the year. But in the word unstoppable is clearly the word stop. So as a leader, to be unstoppable, sometimes you have to go slow to go fast. You have to stop. You have to reflect as to what happened to the left, what happened to the right. Look in the rearview mirror, hopefully for not a long period of time, but reflect on past experiences, what went wrong, why, do some of that reflection, and then a whole lot of looking forward. What are the roads that we're going to take? How are we going to get there? And sometimes we might need to recalculate, so being okay with that as well. So as we were doing strategic planning, the word stop also resonated with us probably as much as the word unstoppable did. So then on the journey, some of you in this room know Jeff Brown. Jeff Brown also sits on our board for Simon Says Give. And what was happening in our unstoppable, crazy world of energy is we had a nonprofit that was moving really fast forward and a lot of successes that were happening. And it wasn't because of one person, it was because of all these unstoppable forces, strategic partners, friends, donors, volunteers. And I was asked to write a book, and that's where the book came in, is I was asked to write a book to be part of what's called a C-suite book club. And I said yes, in my unstoppable nature, sure. I've always wanted to write a book, so that was something that was on my bucket list, absolutely. So I lean in with yes typically first. And then I come back and say, well, now how are we going to accomplish that? So I came back from my trip and spent some time with two people. Kathy Paper, who is here in town, is my publisher. So I grabbed Kathy and I said, okay, I've agreed to write a book. What are we going to write about? And so I grabbed Jeff Brown, and we really ideated on a lot of different things that we could write about. And as we talked about what was happening in our world and this unstoppableness, we continued to talk about the creative problem solving. So one of the things that we had done really well as a group of many people sitting around the table is in that stopping and really understanding what's happening around us and continuing to move forward. The creative problem solving is really what we were doing. We were getting really quick at how do we take a situation, how do we problem solve, how do we work together, having more minds around the table to be creative in our problem solving to move fast forward. So Glenn, where are you in the room? I loved that you talked about the Target story and getting down to the level of the audience in the toy department at Target. So one of the things that we do in creative problem solving is we think like a kid. So as adults, we have a lot of filters. We have a lot of head trash. We have a lot of reasons why something wouldn't work. And one of the things that we've learned early on in the success of our nonprofit is that we are surrounded by a generation of kids that say, well, why not? Like they lean in with yes, have to be convinced that it would be a no. You have to tell kids a lot of times, no, that won't work, no, you're not going to do that, no, 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 before they actually hear no, right? They lean in with yes. So one of the things that we try and do, and this is my daughter Mandy, this is us doing a think tank session as we're moving into planning our High Five for Supplies program. And so she's 12 now, and we have supported over 17,000 children in the state of Minnesota in the last 4 years in our little nonprofit that is kid-founded and kid-operated. So we learn so much from these youth about how do we think like a kid, how do we not lean in with no first as an adult, how do we look at possibilities, how do we ignite our imagination to say, could this be possible? How could we move forward on something? So as we start taking a problem apart, that's one of the first places we lean in with. And so this is me as a child, so also thinking like a kid. In the journey of writing the book, I really had to peel the onion back to say, what has allowed me to have that kind of unstoppable nature and personality as I've moved through situations both in life and leadership. I've held large C-level roles. How have I gone through situations and found that unstoppableness? And so at almost 2 years old, I look a little sassy here. I look a little bit like maybe I was unstoppable in what I wanted to put on and wear, and nobody could probably tell me no, and I'd wear silly glasses and whatever. But I often have to go back to, and I've learned that, especially being a mom, and in what we've done in the nonprofit and working with these kids, I've had to go back to, if I lean in with no, that's not possible now as an adult, I do go back and say, what would I have told myself years ago as a younger person? I might have leaned in with yes. So really looking at things through different lenses, through different possibilities, through different imaginations. So often I have to go back to this and say, what would my younger self tell me today? So as the stop sign shares, and you do have, I know there's a handout in the folder too, so you're welcome to have that right on it now, go back to it. But really from a stop perspective, and there's a lot of synergy with what some of the speakers have said today, because we believe when there's a problem to be solved, regardless of how large it is in life or in business, you've got to simplify it. And I come from a sales environment, always what your sales objective is, that somebody throws out an objection for you on why they don't want to do business with you. It's typically never the real thing. Like you have to drill down further and really understand pain points. When somebody says the world's on fire or something big is happening, you have to peel that onion to really figure out what's the root cause of what's happening. So we have to simplify it and then move on to the other steps, and we'll go through the STOP model for you. So the S in STOP is really simplifying. So with some Six Sigma training, asking the 5 whys, really drilling down to see what's the root cause of what is happening, why is this happening, and really understanding what is it that we're trying to solve, what is it that the team is trying to solve, and then also getting 40,000-foot view, really having a high-level perspective. As leaders, we're so often reactive, we're so often heads down that we don't look 40,000-foot view and really understand what is happening and why. Past experiences, what's going on that is making this happen again and again. And so really looking at that. And then the fear and the status quo, we find in our consulting work and working with a lot of individual companies, the reason they don't move forward on something is because it may just also be too large to simplify, that they're having a challenge there. But when you are asking somebody to change, there's some fear associated with that. Like there's fear, and sometimes it's easier to stay status quo. So we help break through that. So understanding what it is you're trying to solve is number one. So as I share the story, I'm going to put a personal story to it. So this is Kevin Sasser, somebody that I was partnered in business with. I was 35 years old at the time, and I was managing $500 million worth of business as a vice president of sales. And Kevin was partnered with me to move forward in a new leadership way in our organization. And nobody in the organization was happy about what was happening. So Kevin and I had to join forces and move forward. And Kevin wasn't quite sure he wanted to work with me. The little picture of me as a little girl, my older sister Debbie was 8 years old, and then I was adopted into the family. And she wasn't quite sure that she needed to have a little sister in her life either. So I had to go back to look at, as a child, again, going back to my younger self, how had I approached different things in my life? So with Kevin, my goal was to build a relationship with him. So that the simplest form, it was to build a relationship with Kevin. I could move forward in what I had to do from a business perspective without him, but it would have been a lot harder, and we would get better results if we built a relationship together. So through my story, my simplest form is that I needed to build a relationship. I had to look at talents. So again, where had I built relationships with some very difficult personalities in my past, and really reflect on how could I tap back into that? And then from talents that I might not have, how do I bring other things to the table? So what does it look like? What do I need to bring from a talent perspective? And then also from a talent perspective, in my building a relationship with Kevin from a business perspective, if I could show my talents as a business person, then I knew also that I would win Kevin over at some point in time. So the others, the O in the model for others is really understanding who are those others that you need to bring to the table. How do you recruit others to come and help you? And this is, Judy said this as far as there's a secret sauce. So the O, the others, bringing others to the situation, others to the challenge, others to the problem, getting more people thinking about how to move something forward, that is the secret sauce. So the secret sauce of bringing others, I believe that in my life, in business, and working with clients, working with customers, that life is meant to be messy. We all are faced with challenges on a daily basis, and if we can partner with others that can help us move fast forward and be unstoppable, it's that much more meaningful. So that's the secret sauce, is the others. People have a hard time asking for help. We just did a training session recently, and there was an emerging leader that sat in our training class, and she said, well, now that I'm a leader, I'm afraid to ask for help because I should have all the answers. And we're like, oh my gosh, that's so not right. You still need to ask for help. You need to feel comfortable in asking for help. So there's a lot of power in the ability to ask for help. And one of the things that the STOP model allows you to do is get very, very drilled down as to here's the problem. Here's the talents that either I have as a leader or my team has to solve the problem. Here's where our gaps are and where we need to recruit others to the table. and asking for help of somebody. So going back to my story with Kevin, I brought in very early on a strategic planner from outside of the organization. I needed a very objective person that could come in and could help us facilitate our strategic planning session for our region. And I was viewed by some of my colleagues as being weak for asking for help. And I said, well, I think it's part of the secret sauce and part of the magic, because I was able to sit at the table as a participant and not as a facilitator. And it was one of the things that actually brought Kevin around, because I was able to sit at the table and I was actually able to participate and be a part of it. So really looking at where are there others, how do you bring other people to the table, how do you ask for help, how are you okay in asking for help, do you have team members that are afraid to ask for help? You know they're drowning, but they don't know how to ask for help. So creating that environment where it's okay to ask for help. Sometimes when you are around people, they don't really know where you're headed. They might not agree with where you're headed, and that's okay, because the journey isn't about them. The journey is about you, your team, how are you moving forward. You can agree to disagree sitting around the boardroom table. You can agree to disagree, but as long as your values and why you're moving forward on something and allowing people to try and to start moving forward, there will be naysayers. They'll line up and say, really, you're doing what? But as you continue to move forward and they see success, then they'll join you. So the last piece of the STOP model is P for plan. So you'll laugh because I said that I was partnered with Hot Lou, and he talked about plan. So where I agree with the plan and how we have looked at the plan is that you have to plan. You have to kind of know where you're going. What does the map look like? But don't spend days and weeks away doing planning sessions and then put the plan in the drawer. So keep the plan simple. Keep it, what's the first step? What's the second step? How are we going to move forward? How do we need to recalculate? How do we need to revisit it? Building accountability partners. Who's going to hold you accountable to moving forward? So that's what the P is plan. So having the simplify the situation that you're trying to solve. What are the talents that you and your team bring to the table? How do you recruit others to help you build the plan and move forward? Really understanding that the secret sauce is others and being comfortable with asking for help, figuring out where are the best of class of people that can help you based on what the situation is. And then, that takes a lot of relationships. So having others around you, there's others here in this room that are networked together that have collaborated in business. I've worked closely with Jen Alstad and Lou. We've collaborated on business and how we can move forward. But we make sure that we're depositing into each other's bank accounts as well. How are we helping each other so that it's not one-sided? So that's the part about the relationship bank account. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Be unstoppable. You will be stopped. Always, stuff happens, so it's figuring out how to recalculate and how to move forward. So I thank you, and again, there's how to stay connected with us. We are going to be here for the rest of the day, so I'd love to hear your unstoppable stories, and if there's an opportunity for us to help you as well. Thank you.